Hi everyone, Dr. Dan Barrett, Vibrant Life Center. Today I want to talk to you about stroke, chiropractic and stroke. Had a person in here a couple of weeks ago who lots of health problems, and we started working on helping her, and she was contacted by her sister who told her that, oh my gosh, going to the chiropractor is very, very dangerous. Getting your neck adjusted can cause a stroke, damage to the blood vessels in the neck from getting your neck manipulated. I have not heard that in so long. It was very common in the mid-90s, and it was predominantly because there was a supposed research article that was done where they had identified about, I don't know, a couple dozen, 25, 30 cases of stroke following cervical neck manipulation. And the title of the research article was called Chiropractic Manipulation and Stroke. However, if you got the actual research, and this is always the case, the title doesn't necessarily match what's in the article. If you get the whole research thing, which we did, reading through it, if you go through these cases of manipulation and stroke and who was doing them, medical doctors, physical therapists, barbers, neurologists, and one ophthalmologist in Australia called Frank the Crank, who I remember hearing about a long time ago, whose main method of helping people see better was to crank their neck this way, crank their neck that way, and improve the blood flow, more of an osteopathy application. Improve the blood flow to the occipital lobe, which is where you see from. Anyway, these were the cases. They weren't chiropractors, but somehow the name of the article is called Chiropractic Manipulation and Stroke. And so it was on all the Good Morning Americas and GMA and all this stuff in the 90s. When I first got in practice, I remember hearing about this, and people brought it up in the office all the time. I haven't heard about it in so long. It was just kind of took me off guard. But I just wanted to share it with you, because probably if she had that concern, there's other people who do. But here's just some of the things about it. So yeah, everything's got a risk to it. Everything has a risk to it. Everything you do, getting in your car, coming over here, has a risk to it. Getting adjusted has a risk. I've been doing this, coming up on 30 years now. No one has had a stroke in our office, and it's possible. It's pretty rare, but technically, here's the story. We're concerned about the arteries that live in your neck. As you get older, they get squished down. They get a lot of calcium in them. And if you're rotating the neck, you can kind of irritate it, loosen, dislodge something, and then end up blocking a vessel in your brain. We would call that a stroke. But the deal is, people who aren't trained do this, rotate. Chiropractors do this mostly. It's sideways. It doesn't put that sort of rotational stress on it. So it's a sideways maneuver. And that's why chiropractic really, we don't really have that experience rating. If there's a risk in chiropractic, it's more like fracturing ribs. It's not stroke. And I'll just, here's my classic answer to this concern. My malpractice carrier, I pay malpractice. Everybody has to have malpractice. Your doctor, you have malpractice coverage. $3 million policy. It's like way more than my car insurance. My car insurance, your typical car insurance, you have $100,000 of car insurance, your liability. If you hurt somebody in your car, you have $100,000. I have $3 million of malpractice coverage. That cost me $1,300 a year, not quite, $1,200 and some change, about $100 a month it cost me for malpractice coverage for a $3 million policy, just over $1,000. My sister is a pediatrician. She's retired now, but her last malpractice policy was like $70,000, $90,000. Surgeons pay $100,000 to $150,000. Obstetricians, $200,000 to $250,000 a year in malpractice. That's for the same $3 million policy. So the folks who are keeping track of injuries and deaths, that's insurers. They got to count those beans, and they got to pay for the damages. They know. It's not chiropractic that's dangerous. It really, Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen, those things, that kills 9,000 people a year. Those things. You can go to a Walmart, any Target store, and buy that stuff every day of the week. Bayer still sells aspirin. Johnson & Johnson is still selling Tylenol, even though 9,000 people a year die from that. 9,000 people have never died from chiropractic in its 125-year existence. But you can buy Tylenol and aspirin and ibuprofen every day of the week, and 10,000 people a year die from that. So this concern is really unusual. I haven't heard of it. And if there is a concern that I'm a risk to folks, I'm going to be cheeky about it here. American Family charges me about $300 a month to drive my car to the office. Cars, not one, but that's for $100,000. So I pay those guys over $3,000 a year to drive my car, and I pay my malpractice carrier a little over $1,000 a year to adjust people. So that's kind of the level of thing. But let's kind of look at the big picture thing. So always risk, always, whatever you do, there's a risk to it. Particularly in light of, say, people keep asking me about, COVID vaccine. Is there a risk to that? Yes. Is there a benefit? Yes. So you got to look at the risk and benefit. If you're 80 years old and you live in a nursing home and man alive, you're eating fruit cocktail for food every day. That's your food. Maybe you want to think about it. I wouldn't tell anybody to or not to. But if you're 8 years old, not many 8-year-olds dying of COVID, right? It's just not happening. And if you look at the vaccine adverse event reporting system thus far, since December 20th, I think is when they started making reports of this, of 2020, December 20th of 2020, somewhere around there, to now. Last time I looked, last week, 9,000, 10,000, I think, deaths have been reported to the VAERS vaccine adverse event reporting system. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all caused by it. That just means how many are reported, right? So maybe they're not all caused by that, but let me put it in perspective for you. In those 6-7 months, that 10,000, compare it to every year previous, where it's 50 to 150, maybe 200 reports of vaccine deaths from all the other 22 other vaccines. Maybe 100 to 200 a year, every year. So here we have in 6 months, 10,000, and people are lining up outside. The government's coming to your house to make sure you got one of these. Nobody's having a discussion about safety and what's the risk at all. Yeah, I get it. These are all, you need to consider all these things, but let's just, let's try and keep that in perspective. What's the benefit? Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't have COVID, or less. It's been shown, you're less likely to die with the vaccine of COVID. It has not been shown if you're less likely to die overall yet. That's not been shown, but we only keep track of one thing. That is how medicine works. They measure one parameter. If that improves, you're good to go. It doesn't matter what happens around that. That doesn't matter. Now, when you go, what happens when you get adjusted? Well, I don't know. What happens if you don't get adjusted is the more important question. The reason you need to get adjusted is because your nerves don't work right. And if you're going through your life with your nerves not working right, that means your body's breaking down, developing disease. Well, how many days, how many weeks, how many months should you let that happen? And then you end up in the nursing home and on medication, and you have a medicine cabinet full of stuff, and we're not just talking ibuprofen and Tylenol at that point. We're talking metformin and Plavix and everything else, antibiotics and everything else, because the body isn't working right. So what's the risk benefit? Well, if you know that the risk is, maybe, I don't know, the risk to chiropractic, it's that. I can't even identify what it would be for you. But the benefit could be life-changing. For some people, is just life-changing. Whereas you talk about just taking aspirin or ibuprofen, so it quits hurting for a couple hours, but you're risking your liver, you're putting your kidneys on the line, so it quits hurting for a couple hours. And people do that every day. People go down to the Walmart, they got big jugs of ibuprofen at the Walmart, 1,000 in a bottle or something like that, and they got a whole wall of them at the Walmart. And people live like that without evaluating this. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, it's kind of on my mind, and I feel really bad for this guy, because she actually, her sister talked her out of getting help, and she's got all these health problems, and so now she's just going to live her life with her health problems. But so I just wanted to share that yeah, that is a concern. Probably other people have it, and so I just wanted to dispel that and get folks over that. I don't think it's probably a concern for you guys watching this, but it's out there. So if folks bring it up, really, those are just some tools around that. It's Not more complicated than that. But anyway, yeah. What's the upside? Getting adjusted. Just do it. I don't teach anybody to do stuff here we don't do. And I get adjusted every week. Why? To keep my brain hooked up so I can be healthy and do what I need to do. I just literally, before I walked in here, talking to a 27-year-old gal who works over at Woodwinds in the CT department. And her job is to move people on and off the CT table. And she has back pain and her hurts all the time. She has to take ibuprofen and all this. And she says, but that's normal, doesn't everybody? I go, well, I don't. And I'm 60. I don't have that. Well, I have a difficult job, she says. I have to move people on and off the table. I said, do you see what I do in it? Have you been to a chiropractor? Do you got any idea what I do all day? She's like, oh, my job's difficult. But anyway, that's just where people live. It's a little bit of a denial. The poor young gal, 27 years old. She was actually here to see the massage therapist and just chatting with me. She wasn't looking for my help, but we were just chatting about it. And I was kind of trying to help her work through this, that, if you're 27, seeing a massage therapist means you got problems. I don't even have time to see the massage therapist. People go there because they got muscle knots and their nerves aren't working right. You're 27 and you're thinking you need to see a massage therapist, we got some problems. But poor gal not quite up for that yet. So anyway, we help who we can help. So thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for helping the people that tell them the message, share the message, get people out of that system. They're taking drugs. They're on their way there. It's a path of destruction. It just is. And the way out is what we do. Eat right, sleep right, move right, keep your nerves working right. You probably got to take some supplements to counteract how we're eating. And so that's all there is to it. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll be back next time with another health message. So I'm Dr. Barrett. Thanks.